Welcome everyone to a brief Gary Neville podcast. Normally we review the whole weekend. There's only been one game this weekend so far though, and it is here at Old Trafford where Manchester United, as Gary's smile would suggest to you, have just beaten Manchester City by 2-0, and it was, in the context of the last couple of years, Gary, a really remarkable United performance.
Absolutely incredible, even at 0-0, Peter, even after 15-20 minutes. I talk a lot about intent. I was asked a question earlier on this week about Manchester United DNA, and I think it's quite clear what it is if you support Manchester United and if you play for Manchester United, what it is. Being aggressive, having an incredible attitude, making sure that you are positive and have purpose in everything that you do, that you play the ball forward as quickly as possible with real quality, that you sprint forward in your absolute droves as much as you possibly can. And I've seen everything and more there today. I don't care if they lose games. I don't care if they draw games. We can never be bored here. And that, look, the goals help. The results help. But performance, I keep talking about performance. And look, what's happened in the last 3 days? They've appointed Michael Carrick. Michael Carrick, I know him very, very well. He's composed, he's class. He knows the game, he's intelligent. He's got a good understanding of what a Manchester United performance looks like. He played in probably the best Manchester United team, really, when you look at Ronaldo, Rooney, Tevez, Giggs in that front line. You're never going to see world class like that, I don't think, again. So for me, yeah, I can't believe what I've just watched. I've done 8 of Manchester United's last 10 games. I've seen Burnley, I've seen Wolves, I've seen West Ham, I've seen Everton here, I've seen Bournemouth here, and I've seen nothing like that. And the system matters. The system matters. You know, it does. I'm surprised that Ruben Amorim didn't get a better performance out of the players. But what's plainly obvious here to see today is the complete shift in attitude and intensity and everything. Everything. I mean, look, that's not good in some ways for the players in the sense that they've been able to shift, but they're not responding to something. They're not responding to a message, individuals, a system. I don't know what it is. But how that transformation has come from the last 5 or 6 weeks, from that Everton game where Manchester United lost to 10 men to today, that is one of the best performances you'll see in any era, by the way, by a Manchester United team in a football match. That's an unbelievable performance from start to finish. If you said to me, what do I want to see? I want to see a 4-4-2, really compact, engaging, aggressive. I want to see doubling up of wingers and fullbacks working together to nullify opposition wingers. I want to see 2 central midfield players tight together and combine and stop the ball going into Foden in a number 10 position. I want to see 2 centre-halves be aggressive against a great centre-forward and nullify him. I want to see a combination of 2 centre-forwards, Fernandes and Mbeumo, and then Cunha when he came on, making sure they're linking together and playing off each other, but also blocking passes into Rodri to make it not make it easy. Everything that it's a very simple system, 4-4-2. Played it all my life here, and it's about basically the combinations of pairs. It's about the way in which pairs work together all over the pitch. That's a left winger and a left back. It's a right winger and a right back. It's 2 central midfield players. It's 2 centre forwards and it's 2 centre backs. And then you might have your left-sided centre back with your left back, and it's pairs all over, and how they're compact together so that they can play with each other. When Manchester United's wide players got the ball high up the pitch, you often saw Shaw and Dalot very close to them. You know, Shaw's played left centre back here. I don't know how many times in the last 6 months. And I've been screaming for him to go forward and get close to whoever his left wing back is. He's been sort of holding back. Just go. Just go. And look, I got quite emotional when that goal went in of Mbeumo, because to be honest with you, I thought, oh my God, that's what I have been asking for. It's what everyone in this ground's been asking for. We know what it looks like. And you know, we don't have to win. I keep saying that. There's no right to win at this club. And we might lose the next 10 matches. I don't care. But the intent to do the right thing is there. But those players have set themselves a standard today. I have to say, they've set themselves a standard in attitude, in aggression, in positivity when they're playing with intent and playing through the lines. Everything. You can't drop below that. You cannot drop below that. And look, credit, I don't know what Michael's done. I have no idea what he's done in 3 days. What could he have done? in 3 days to even turn it round from, say, the 2 games that Darren Fletcher had. Let's forget about Room and Amorim. The 2 games that Darren Fletcher had against Burnley and against Brighton in the Cup, where's that come from? So, look, there's definitely things that I've seen out there today that have been instilled in a 3-day period because they're completely different. But he's gone back to something that this club looks like. Now, like I say, I'm just happy. I'm happy because I don't have to come onto a podcast at the end of a game and talk about crap that I've watched and Manchester United fans booing and talk about how the negativity around the club and the players can't. I'm so happy to be able to see something that resembles what this is and what everyone here should be aspiring for. And it is not a time to get giddy or carried away, even though Manchester United fans should celebrate till their heart's content tonight and go for it and have the night of their lives, because these moments are rare and have been rare in these last 10 years. But it has to be. Michael Carrick has laid a foundation today for the next 4 months. And if he can continue to lay that foundation here with that level of performance for the next 4 months, the person who picks up the baton at the end of the season can be in a good place. You know, Ralph Rangnick came, it didn't quite happen in terms of that handover. When Ole came in and got the role, if you like, for 6 months, he then got given the job. Michael Carrick's got to hand that baton over in good shape, and that is an unbelievable start for him, and say well done to him, because he's a brilliant lad, a brilliant player, a good man, and he's put steel and a level of competence into their organisation throughout the game. And it wasn't, by the way, sit back and defend for your lives. And this was a bit different. So yeah, look, I'm really proud of what I've seen today, and I'm happy for Michael. You know, I'm happy for those players, to be fair. But I would ask the question: where's that been? That attitude, that intensity, that determination? Because that's all we've really wanted to see, to play with a bit of fight and a bit of heart, and it's come.
We'll finish on Manchester United because it is, as you quite rightly say, their day. But for balance, we've got to see it from a Manchester City perspective as well. First of all, I have to put to you that many watching that game, and with respect, you were outvoted in our studio at half-time, thought that Diogo Dalot might have been sent off. So please address that again, if you will. And then just see the game from City's perspective.
Yeah, I was surprised. Look, I thought yellow was right. I still think yellow was right. There are many, and we've seen already in the studio, Roy, Mike and Daniel have said that they think that that's a red card. Now, I was surprised, actually. Sometimes, you know, when you're sort of firm in your position, then obviously these things are subjective. And at half-time, the 3 lads said it was a red. Mike Dean, obviously, who sat on this gantry with us many times, said he thought it was a red. So you start to question yourself. But what I thought was that, and I'm looking at it from purely a sort of fullback perspective, it's a bit like if you punch someone, it's a red. If you slap someone, it's a yellow type thing. It's almost like. So to me, what Dalot's foot does, the ball's there. And by the way, you've got to take into consideration as well, I think, Doku and what he does and what he is. He's sensational at shifting the ball. So I think he's just gone like that with his studs, and it's not really got a lot of force behind it. If he goes like that and holds his legs stiff and firm, and he follows through with it, and he doesn't do that little pull away side at the end, I think it's a red. So I think there is a subtle difference, and we were listening to VAR and what they thought of it, and he said he read it as I read it at the time, that the force wasn't there in the challenge. It was an attempt for the ball, and Doku's too quick for him, which is exactly what VAR said. You know, I'm sure Howard Webb will do his programme in a couple of weeks, and will show that incident. But that was the feeling of me as well, that it wasn't a red card. It was just, it was one of them that you looked at and thought, oh, in slow motion, yeah, it's on the knee, it's not good. But it was just one of them because the ball was there and the ball was bouncing. So I did think it was a yellow, probably orange. I didn't think it was a red. But I can see, you know, Pep Guardiola, Manchester City fans, I'm sure will just say it's a red all day long. It's ridiculous. You're being biased. You're a United fan. But I genuinely think that I don't look at it like that. If I genuinely thought it was a red, I'd say it. And I think if it's a stiff leg with real force, I think it's basically a red, but I don't think it is. I think it's a bit one of those legs, like he's almost reaching for it with his studs like that, and that's how I saw it.
That aside, and that of course will be a big debating point for City fans in particular, that aside, was City a little tepid today, or was it just that Manchester United played so well?
I think City were surprised. I don't think I think they expected Manchester United to come out. I think what Pep Guardiola would have said to them is, look, they're going to come out potentially and be hard and come out the blocks fast, and it might be a little bit rah, gung-ho for 20 minutes, but when it dies down, you'll play through them. I don't think he would have expected the level of sustained aggression and sustained compactness and sustained organisation of this Manchester United team. I don't think he would have expected, none of us would have done, that they would have been so well drilled defensively, but also I think in attack. They were so well drilled. I mean, that to me felt like a 4-4-2 system that had been instilled in a team that had played together in that system with a manager for like 18 months, 2 years. I'd love to do Monday Night Football this week. Don't hear me because they'll probably call me down to London now. But, I'd love to do Monday Night Football this week because, to be fair, you could see comparisons of the counter-attacks, of the doubling up on wide players, of the wide players and the actual fullbacks combining in wide areas in attack, the midfield players playing off each other, the way in which Mbeumo and Fernandes link with each other. Bruno was really close to Mbeumo. I've always said Manchester United's system is such. You have a forward and then you have a number 10. It can be York. It can be Cantona, it can be Rooney, it can be Tevez, it can be Berbatov. Them players that just drop in off a striker. Scholes did it for a number of years. We've always had that most talented player close to our striker and feeding them. And that's what made me a little bit emotional on that goal, thinking of, I actually nearly said it, but I thought I'm not going to get carried away too much. But Bruno was a little bit like Cantona-esque today in the way in which he played. And that's where he's got to play. Be near to goal, be where you can hurt teams, because he's a great player. We don't want to see him back in a midfield 2 in front of a back 3. Is that where we want to see Bruno Fernandes? No. And it's definitely not right. So for me today, I just saw so many things that reminded me of what this club plays like, what their DNA is, what they should be. But for City, Foden stopped. Foden couldn't get on the ball because they couldn't play it through the Manchester United's 2-2-2. They couldn't get it through those. The 2 wide players narrowed in. They allowed it to go to Doku wide. When it went to Doku wide, Dalot sprinted out with real intent. Different. Do you remember the other week? Who was it? Who was it over there that scored a goal against Manchester United? It was Morgan Rogers. It wasn't. I said Burnley, didn't I? It was Morgan Rogers got the goal against Manchester United. The ball went out to him
at Villa Park.
And who was it? Was it Dalot that was right back? I think he jogged over or ambled over to him, didn't he? I think he did. Yeah. Today, you look at Dalot compared to the other week, or look at Shaw compared to when the ball goes out to their wide player, they're sprinting out to him quickly. And that's what you have to, and then you have to get back in quickly if it recycles back. So there's so many things that I recognise today from what a good fullback does, from what a good centre-back does, from what a good midfield 4 do, and what a good front 2 do. And City found that really difficult to break down because Manchester United was so persistent and sustained in their organisation that they couldn't get Foden in the game. They couldn't get the ball into Haaland. Now, the one thing I thought City should have done when they continually kept hitting this red wall and it kept going wide to Semenyo and Doku, maybe they should just simplify the game a little bit and put crosses in. What would that do? It'd make, obviously, Haaland potentially come into the game a little bit more, but it might make them, Manchester United's fullback, just edge a little bit wider, which means then that the opening spaces might come up in the channels. So I didn't think City changed it up enough to be able to actually then create things in a way in which they normally do, which is the chance that Reinders gets when he gets in that sort of channel. You could never get between United's lines, but I think they had to try and be a little bit more forceful with those crosses to try and open up something else, and they just didn't do. They just fell into the trap, City, and United got the goals. And I actually thought half-time United could struggle the second half because they'd done so well first half, but then they just did it again. And like I say, that was one of the very best performances I've seen from United for a long, long time. Honestly, a long, long time. And we've all been conditioned to think maybe it's not been possible, that maybe that's not what it is anymore. You can't play 4-4-2 anymore, Gary. You can't play 4 at the back anymore. Can you not? Okay, well, I think we've seen that we can against the best teams in the league. Now, next week against Arsenal, who knows what's going to happen? We could get pulled apart playing the same system. I don't care. Continue to play the way we play. Wide players, attacking, getting a number 10 close to a striker, having 2 midfield players, one of which can play a little bit, and a back 4 that is really rotating quickly and aggressive, but one full-back that gets forward on the side the ball's on. It's literally programmed into our heads of what it is. Just do it. And the other thing that came today, by the way, was the switch of play. The switch of play to a wide player that goes over to the far side. That's returned today. And wide players that then go and attack a winger at Old Trafford because it's so big. Counter-attacks with 4 and 5 players. So many things that were good, and look, brilliant. I think he picked the right team as well in hindsight. I thought that I was surprised Cunha didn't play for Dorgu. I knew that Seshko wouldn't play. I thought that Mbeumo would play up top. But there'll be a point for Seshko to come in, I'm sure. But I think that he got it absolutely spot on.
So last one, Gary, we're very nearly done. But just throwing it forward, as you did to some extent there, talking about Arsenal. Tell me why, because we've had 2 of these a year for the last 13 years. Tell me why this might not be another full storm. Why will Manchester United potentially sustain this sort of performance?
No, I can't give you any guarantees, Peter. There's a massive caveat with this. I'm just getting giddy, to be fair, for 20 minutes in my life, because we should. Because look, if we'd won today, Manchester United, by playing really deep, scrapping a 1-0 win, and I'd seen like a bit of a scruffy type hang in there type performance, I wouldn't be getting as giddy as I am. I wouldn't. The Manchester United fans not stupid, by the way. They were clapping at half time because they thought, yeah, that's it. That's it. That's what we do. It's 0-0, by the way. They were clapping. That tells you everything. So at the end of the game, obviously they're absolutely buoyant because it's 2-0. But the half-time clap and the appreciation of what they'd seen was because they'd seen a proper performance. So for me, no, it may be a false dawn. It may be a false dawn, Peter. It may be that, but Manchester United are currently sat in the top 4, and I've maintained all year. They'll go out of it, obviously, when the rest of the games come this weekend. But they're sat 4th right now. They should be 4th or 3rd anyway over the last few weeks with the games that they've dropped points in. But they've not shown and demonstrated enough energy, attitude, performance levels or anything. And I've always thought this team are actually capable of that. And we've seen today that they actually are. So, look, getting into the top 4 this season, top 5 would be a massive achievement. I think it's achievable. It's there. There's a lot of work to do to get there. But that wouldn't mean a return of Manchester United. That's not, I'm not getting carried away beyond that. I want to really heavily caveat how happy and giddy I've been in this podcast, just purely because we've been conditioned to believe you cannot play like Manchester United play. That's what I've been told for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Move on. You can't play that way anymore. I'm sorry. You can play that way in modern football. You can. It's just, you've just watched 90 minutes of it. 90 minutes of exactly what I think this club plays like when it's actually at its very best. And that's sometimes unashamedly being in without the ball and just being behind the ball and saying, go on, knock us down, then we'll just counter-attack on you. So no, it's not a time to say that Manchester United will sustain this and then they'll go and carrying up the league. This has got to be a bridge towards potentially getting a European place. Top 5 would be amazing. That would get a Champions League place. And then maybe something else next season. But no, this is not the return of Manchester United, but it's the return of at least something that looks like the club. It's been a pale imitation this last many years, really. Many years. It's been awful. Some of the performances here, you have to see a good one to remind you of how bad the ones have been.
Well, it's been a good day for those of you who are red, Gary. So
Thank you.
Enjoy that. Enjoy the rest of the Premier League weekend. Super Sunday tomorrow, 2 games on that, and a Monday night football as well, which I'm sure will re-examine this derby. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you. Thanks, Peter.